Hello and welcome to the Growing Green podcast. Your host, Jeremiah Jennings, is the owner of Growing Green Landscapes in Birmingham, Alabama, and has a passion for growing the entrepreneurship community for those who are young in business. Being a business owner isn't easy, especially in the early years, and that's why in this show we dive into a wide range of topics covering all the challenges small business owners deal with. Even if your company is generating $1 million or more, the stories from our great guest and Jeremiah's own firsthand experiences will propel your business forward. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Jennings.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to an episode today here on the Growing Green podcast. This is your host, Jeremiah Jennings, and I'm super excited to come to you today with another fresh episode for your Monday or Wednesday or Friday, whenever it is you're listening. I believe this is going to be a Wednesday show. It could be listened on Tuesday or Thursday or Saturday or a Sunday. So whatever day you're listening, hope you guys are doing well. This show is going to release here on a Wednesday, and the Wednesday of Equip Expo as well. So if you are not at the show, you're probably listening to this. If you're at the show, you're probably not listening to this. You'll hear this afterwards. So it was great seeing you there at Equip. If you are here, go ahead and speak that into existence. But if you're at home and you're listening, get out and crush some work. I know you may want to be here. You may be sad you didn't get to go, but make the most of not being at the show. Get out there, sell some work, crush some work. You can put 3, 5, 10 grand of work in the ground in a couple days. And so make the most of that. While other people are out checking out new equipment and things and spending money, you could be home making money. It's not me saying you shouldn't come to the show. I'm excited to be at the show. I want you to continue to go to the show in the future, but if you didn't this year, it's all good. Make some money, make some revenue, put some profit in the bank account, and keep on trucking. So I want to take a second today and, again, just say thank you. I try to do this once every couple weeks, maybe once a month, and just really say thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in and supporting us here. The messages, the feedback, that's what it's all about. It really is such a community that we have built here. Knowing that we brought one person, not me or we, but the Lord worked in somebody's heart over the last couple weeks with an episode after Charlie Kirk was killed, and that person was confessed to have gotten saved. And so that was really awesome to hear. That is literally what it's all about. I say community is what it's all about. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. So thank you to each and every one of you who do support and help us go out and continue this thing we do call the Growing Green podcast. So we couldn't do without you. While I hop into today's show, I want to talk to you about some personal experiences this year and continue to expound on a little bit of what we've learned this year, what I've learned, what I've seen, the back end of the business, the front end of the business, where we failed, where we messed up, and how we go from here. Because I need you to be able to learn, to hear things that I talk about, right, and learn from mistakes that I make and you not make them. The same way that I learn from people's mistakes and I try not to make them as well. Certain things I think you're going to have to do yourself. I think there's certain things that you will end up making that mistake on yourself no matter what someone says or does or tries to tell you. But there's some that you can't avoid. And this is one that I feel like is very prevalent. It's very common, I think, in the industry. It's very common as a business owner to do this. The more that I get around this, the more I see other companies that are growing, but I don't feel it being talked about a ton. And so I kind of want to share that and talk about it a little bit. And that is maximizing revenue per employee and not getting too labor heavy. So you've heard me talk, and I've joked since day one. I've literally had a person with me since week 2 of our company. Week 1, I worked by myself, and I said, "Yep, never again." That was no good. So literally, since that day in 2018. I've always had someone working alongside of me, whether it be full-time, part-time. Most of the time it's been full-time, at least one person full-time. And we've dropped it over the winter over the years. But for the most part, we've kept somebody on staff full-time, at least one person since 2018. And over the course of those years, it's been nice. I always had help, and we've kept things up, and we've been going. But I have a tendency to get too labor-heavy. And we did that this year, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that and how that happened, right? What happened with that and how you can avoid it, because it's not something that you want to do a bunch of. You want to make that mistake once and not do it again. So how does it happen, right? How does it happen? How do you become too labor heavy to spend too much money on employees and not have the revenue to back it up. I think really it happens because you just have a lack of systems, you have a lack of processes, and you have a lack of organization on the back end of the business. And so you see work start coming in, and you're like, oh, man, we got to get people to do this. And boom, 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 we're going to go. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. And that's the typical entrepreneurial journey, right? ADD a little bit, going all over the place, 90 miles an hour. How are we going to get this done? We got to hire people. We got to do this. We got to put money in the bank. Got to do it. It's very easy to fall into. And I'll tell you one of the things that I want you to understand, though, of like what revenue per employee is, it's simply just literally total annual revenue, like what's your company doing, divided by the number of employees that you have. So you do $1 million bucks, and you have 10 people on staff. That's $100,000 per employee. So you do that math, what that looks like. Some of the best companies in the industry, right, are shooting for 150 to 225 K per employee. So you're talking 150,000 to 225,000 per employee is what they're producing. So you got 10 people on staff doing those numbers. You're shooting 1.4, 1.6, somewhere in there. So you are adding some substantial revenue to the company as opposed to just that lower average of 100,000 per employee. And that 100,000 per employee is not crazy. It is common, believe it or not. It is common in commercial maintenance companies. If that's their main gig, I see that more frequently. But, you want to get that revenue per employee up. And so I think that what revenue per employee does is it tells the truth about how well I have systems, how well I have pricing, and what the labor balance is, right? Do I have good labor balance across the board? Are people cross-trained? Are we having to add people left and right? Are we losing people? What is that? What does the back end of that look like? And, if you don't know why being too labor heavy can kill you, I want to share with you that too before we get into like some solutions to help solve this, because we're working through solutions right now. Why it can kill you is just pretty obvious, right? It adds additional payroll, right? It adds additional load to your plate to manage the people, and it also adds additional overhead. And so you need to be thinking about all of these things as you go. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself. It adds those things, right? If your payroll is, if your payroll is above that 25 to 30% mark, it means you're most likely running on very, very razor thin margins, and you're not taking home that much profit. And you're also going to have your hidden labor costs in there, your overtime, your downtime, your training, inefficiencies, turnovers. Those things are going to be in there, and so you're going to start ending up losing money because your margins are so thin. You're not going to have any buffer in there to cover those things, and it's very easy, right? This is a very should stop you in your tracks statement here. When you are too labor heavy, a lot of the times it's because you're too busy, and busy becomes the enemy of profitable, right? It's exactly what I talked about a second ago. I'm too busy. I have work to do. I got to get people in here to do the work. How are we going to do it, right? And so you get busy and you have things to do, but that work is not turning profit. And for us, a key thing for that this year was maintenance. We were struggling very hard in the beginning of the year with maintenance because we had a bunch of people put towards it and the revenue just wasn't being produced. We had yards that were not profitable from drive time sakes and time spent on properties. We weren't hitting hours on it. And so we had to fix those things, and we had to drop quite a few as well, like midsummer, because we were doing so bad with some of those properties. And so when we figured that out, it was a little bit of a breakthrough. Like, oh, okay, like I see what's happening here. And so we were able to start turning and righting the ship from some of these issues where we were too labor heavy. And we had to let some people go. We did do that, but that was just part of the journey, right? It's part of the growth, and it's not a fun journey. It's not a fun growth plan, but I'm very glad to say that we have come through that, and we did go through that because I learned a lot through the process the last 6, 8, 9 months of what that looks like, why how you can very easily get labor heavy, what it looks like, how to avoid it going forward. And a lot of that has to do with your budget too, right? When you're setting your budget, I just went through with my coach the other day and built our budget for 2026, and we really dialed in. We took month-over-month averages from 25, and we factored that into this coming 2026, and it's really showing me the things to look out for and how to actually forecast for 2026. It's something that I didn't know how to do really well going into the last couple years. I'm not the best at just like randomly guessing at how much we're going to do or what we're going to spend and all that stuff. So we were able to I was able to learn like the month-over-month forecasting from the last like 12 months. Take that and you can forecast it into the next year. And so we got our budget dialed in. We have the employees on paper that we have to hire to do the amount of revenue that we have to produce, and we got to figure out a way to make that happen. And so, I have on paper like this is what we have to do. These are the amount of people we're going to have to do it. How are we going to do it? Right? We're going to build the systems and the processes to actually make it happen. And so that's the goal. It's not add more people. It's okay. We have our people. Now we have the system and the process to make this work, because this is going to work. The maths. It's addition and subtraction. It has to work. So now, as we go into to the year ahead, and we're rolling 12 months. We're not saying next year as in 2026. We're saying next year as in now. We're starting and going over the next 12 months from, we'll say, October the 22nd to October 22nd of 2026. Some ways that we're going to do this, right? How are we going to increase this revenue per employee? How can you increase this if this is something for you? One, systematize everything, right? SOPs for everything. If you're a part of the Leanscaper, you're part of the Accelerator community, guys, Mark talks about SOPs all the time, all day, every day. Leanscaper builds amazing SOPs. You should be spending time creating those and learning how to create them, because if you do it now, you spend the time now, you're going to have agentic AI come into play over the next couple of years, and agents are going to be able to actually read, follow, and teach SOPs to your crews. And so you want to be able to get those things in place now so you're set up for success in the future. Because SOPs, what they're doing, they're eliminating the wasted time in the company, right? Time that you spent telling the same thing over and over again or doing the same thing over and over again, right? Those are ways that you can eliminate that wasted time by having an SOP for that, because people know how to actually follow it. When you are predictable, you can be productive. If you're not predictable, you cannot be productive. And so that's something that we have to look at daily. Are our mornings systemized at all? Are we having SOPs? Do we do the same thing every day? How can we be the most productive possible when we're not on site? What are we doing to be as productive as possible to get on site? And once we are on site, how can we stay productive and not get off track? So systematize everything, put SOPs in place. Also cross-train your crew. If you're building a landscape company that's doing softscapes, hardscapes, project-based work, cross-train your crews to where they can do multiple things, right? And you're not having to just hire people to do one specified task. We're not the size company, 0 to 1, 2 million, where you have people that can come in and do one role, and that's the only role, right? As we built our plan for next year, we literally have a hybrid role of landscape apprentice / enhancement / irrigation. And so what they're going to be doing is they're going to know irrigation, right? That's going to be their main focus, is they're going to know irrigation. And they're also going to bounce over to enhancement and installation crews as well to learn that and perform some of that work, because we just aren't to the point where we can have a fully dedicated irrigation crew yet. At the rate we're going, irrigation is growing like crazy. It's middle of October, and we just got another call for a system installation. And so hopefully those continue next year. I would love to shoot an installation every month minimum going into 26. That would be amazing. But, we're just going to see what happens with that. And as we continue to grow, I think we can grow that division pretty well. But, again, we're going to hire. We're going to cross-train eventually, at first, so they can eventually get into running their own division and doing their own things. Make sure that you have flexible crews, right? Make sure that they can go from one project to the next and do the things. And as you grow, right, you're going to have more specialties. You're going to have more people come in and do one certain thing. You have a master mason and master hardscaper, things like that. But until you get to that point, try to cross-train, try to teach them so they can actually go, and then they can also teach their people that are coming on under them and grow all together. Measure your productivity and track it, guys. What gets measured gets managed, okay? Please, please, please think about that. That's a hard one for me. Keeping up with the measurements is how you actually see the needle move forward. Measuring data is something that we have really never done well, and we've done more of this year than ever, all the way down to number of estimates sent out, dollar amount. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I've cleared my throat 1,000 times. There's something in that I can't get it out. But keeping up with these numbers is something that is really also helping us forecast, because we see like, hey, we've tracked these numbers over the last 6 months. We're going to be able to take this and forecast it to say, okay, here's the average of these months. This is what you're doing per month. This is what you can plan to do the next 12 months, and once you have a full year of data, like through March of next year, we're going to be even in a better spot, because we're going to have our data from the winter and see, okay, this is what an average winter looks like for you. Maybe you're a little up, a little down, plus or minus a little bit, but for the most part, we'll get you dialed in there. And so please, job costs everything that you can, right? And job costing can be done very easily with a virtual assistant. Get a virtual assistant, train them on it. That's what we've been doing the second half of this year, is trying to get him trained up and ready to go. It's not hard. It's harder to do the actual the managing of the receipts and the the data capture and things like that, and getting it to him than it is him actually doing it. It's not hard, or her. The job costing portion isn't hard. It's getting the data to them to actually perform it. So make sure you're doing that. And if you don't know what job costing is, or you've never done it, you're just running pen and paper on jobs saying it's $10,000 and we're going to mark up our materials 2.5% or double, not 2.5%. We're going to mark it up 50% and or 2 times 2x and be done. Then I want to introduce you to Element, because Element is what's going to change that for you. It's going to show you the ins and the outs of actually job costing and actually seeing the revenue per hour and seeing what you're doing, because all these analytics are in Element. It's not hard data to get once you have this thing, once you have this stuff set up. The top one of my favorite things about Element is the ability to go to the analytics screen and see revenue per hour, invoices sent. At any point, I can push a button and see how many invoices I've sent, how much is outstanding, what is my. And you can just get you can drill so much deeper in it than that. You can get close ratios, you can get all that stuff, all those numbers from inside of Element from the analytics screen. So if you have trouble job costing, or you don't know how, or you want to figure out what that looks like, please, please, please reach out to me and ask me about Element, because it can change your life. It can change your business if you really implement it and start using it the right way. Cut the clutter in the company, right? What are some unprofitable services that you're offering? Maybe it's mowing, right? Maybe it's the mowing department that you're struggling with. You got to find out who your ICP is, who's your ideal customer profile, and stop taking on accounts that don't make you money. Are you spending time mowing grass that's turning revenue, but that's it? Is it actually putting profit in the bank account? Most of the time, if you're struggling with this, like, that's one of the first leading indicators to look to, is like, what are my issues? Well, I guess a leading indicator would be where we seem too labor heavy. We're turning revenue, but we're not keeping money in the bank. We seem too busy. We can't get the work done. Those are all things that I was going through, and it was because our maintenance department was struggling. We had way too much labor being spent on it. The revenue wasn't there. Our properties were bad. So cut the clutter out. Cut the stuff that's not making money. And it's not to say that all of our mowing wasn't making money. It's just to say those certain yards weren't. So you can go through property by property and figure out which ones do make you money and which ones don't. Make sure that you are simplifying your offerings. If that's something that you're struggling with, I do any of it and all of it. That is not something we struggle with. We're pretty niche down to what we do. But if you're struggling with that, then you may need to just simplify that and say, we don't do this. We can't do this well. We can do this really well. We can't do this well. I'm going to send you a referral for this. They can do it better than I can. They can do it more efficiently. They can do it in a better time for a better price. You can get a better result. So just know that. Be able to admit that, because I promise you will see the benefit of it once you do it. You'll feel the weight lifted of like, oh man, this is nice. Not having to sit here and stress over something that we're really not that good at. Invest in the best equipment that you can afford at the time, right? And better tech. Tech is not going anywhere. Equipment is only getting better. Invest in those things today. When you're a small company, you may not have tons of cash laying around. That's okay. But if you can afford it, go out and invest in what you can, because you need to see, and your guys need to see, that you are bought into your vision, you're bought into your company, and you're truly investing and pouring back into it to go forward. Along with that, investing in tools, investing in equipment and tech, invest in training. Right? He needs, your crews need to know that you are investing into them, and that they can trust you, and they can count on you, and they know that you have their back, right? And that comes down to making sure that you have good equipment. Put them in good trucks, put them in good equipment every day. And that's not always easy in the beginning. I understand that. Again, the best you can afford at the time, and maybe a little more, right? If you can get a piece of equipment that will open up a new opportunity for you that you know you can do well, right? Get data on it. Don't go out on a whim, but just have the data, do the research. Okay, we've done this for 6 months. We've rented this, rented that. We're going to spend a little bit of money here. We technically don't have the money, but I know this is going to open up doors for us. That's how our company got started. I did not have money. I financed a lawnmower, and the rest is history. So anyway, make sure that you're putting good tech and good equipment into crews in your crew's hands, and inside your company, in the office, things like that. So I want you to just remember that leadership, it's a choice to be efficient in it, right? If you want to be a good leader and you want to be efficient at it, it's a choice. But it starts with the clarity and the systems and the accountability that we talked about today. Clarity comes from systems and accountability, right? Having these things set in place. I'm preaching to the choir here, right? This is not me preaching to you. This is me preaching to myself, saying, look, dude, get these things in order, because these are the things that are going to change your company. I promise that you're going to see it. Make sure that you're targeting your payroll to be sub 25%, right? Or right around it, 25, 26%, right? You want that to be right on target, and that's field payroll. That's field staff. So 25% field staff of revenue. That's what you want on that. Is that going to be easy to do always? No. But it's possible. And a lot of it comes down to eliminating waste out of your crews. You don't realize how much time your crews are wasting, and they may not be literally just goofing off, right? They may be working, they may be busy sun up to sundown, but where is an area that you are paying them wasted time? Is it fueling up? Is it cleaning trucks? Is it cleaning equipment? What is that? Not to say that stuff's a waste, but can you pay someone else to come in? Can you pay a high school kid to come in and do it for $10, $12 an hour one evening, or 2 or 3 evenings a week, as opposed to paying your top performing field staff their rate to stay extra and then get into overtime after that? That's something you got to look at. Make sure that you track the metrics. Your labor to revenue ratio, so your payroll divided by your revenue, what does that look like? Okay, and your revenue per man hour. Revenue per man hour is huge. That is something that can tell you so much about the company, whether you are hitting it on the head, right? Where do you want to be? And you need to have someone out there help teach you on that. LMN can teach you that. Revenue per employee, what are you looking at? Get around Leanscape or get around Mark, right? For us, we're shooting for, on maintenance, we're shooting for $85 a man hour for residential maintenance, commercial maintenance. And then design build, we're shooting for roughly $125 to $130 an hour. So it's a challenge. It's a grind. We're not hitting it perfect every time, but that is a number that we are trying to keep up with and follow. So just measure it, please, please, please. Good, easy math for you, right? You're doing $20K this week in revenue. Your payroll should be around $5K, right? That's the math to be looking at. So if it's $7K, you got to ask: are you overstaffed? Are you underpriced? Are you inefficient? Where are you lacking at? So find those things, and they will help you in the future get real traction in the business. And I'll tell you, there's been times when we were all of those: overstaffed, underpriced, and inefficient, right? So what can you do to fix those things? So those are things we've talked about today in the systemization and the processing, creating of processes for the company. Being profitable, it's not just working harder. If you want to go work harder, you can go be busy somewhere, but that doesn't mean you're being profitable. It's about working smarter. It's about putting these things in place, just using your brain. The companies that win, that are going to be here long term, right, they don't always have the biggest teams. They have the most efficient ones. Mark Bradley grew a $50 million landscape company with a fractional number of employees compared to that revenue amount. I don't know exactly how many, so I'm not going to guess on that. But I know it was not that his revenue per hour was like hundreds of dollars an hour. So it was absolutely crazy what he was able to do there because his crews were very efficient. They had the 5S waste system in place. Those are those things. Look at your last month's numbers. What is your payroll percentage? Figure that out. What was your revenue per employee? Pick an area to tighten up, right? Where do we tighten the screw here? Is there one place that sticks out more than others? Is it maintenance? Is it design build? Where is it? What is it? So you can actually look at it. If you're growing and that growth is costing you profit, it's not necessarily growth. It's just debt disguised as profit, right? You're going into debt, but you're not actually profiting anything. So you may lose cash. You may have cash flow problems along the way as you grow, but that stuff is not costing you profit. Having those cash flow issues is not costing you profit. So at the end of the day, guys, I have been in that position of being way too overstaffed, not creating the amount of revenue that we need for the labor percentage that we have, or for the labor costs that we have. Figure that stuff out. Element will help you better than you can ever imagine do that. Get around people that have gone through these things. Ask the questions. I'm available if you ever need a question or have a question for me. I'll answer the best way that I can. If I can't, then I'll defer you to someone smarter than me that I know can help you along the way. But it's one of those things, guys, that you got to pay attention to these numbers if you want to grow. You don't want to try to grow and not have these things in place because you will go backwards before you go forwards if that's the case. You will grow, and then you'll go backwards because you can't sustain it, and then you'll have to go forwards again, right? So figure that out. Figure these things out for you. Do you have a good labor percentage? Do you have a good ratio? What's your revenue per hour? When you know these things and you figure them out, then take that, implement them in your new growth plan, and you're going to be rocking and rolling. So work on getting that budget out for 2026 here soon. Start planning for that. Get that prepped and ready. We're ready to go into 2026 hot and heavy. We're not slowing down anytime soon. We're slowing down cutting grass at home, but the business aspect is not slowing down at all. We're growing. We're going to keep selling. We're going to keep shaking and moving onto the next thing, trying to put more money in the bank account, put more profit in the bank account, and actually see our teams grow every day. Pay our teams more, pay our guys more, make sure that they go home every day to a healthy and happy family, and that we get to impact lives inside of our company. So I hope that this brought some value to you. I just want you to not make mistakes that are not necessary to be made. If you can do it, if you can get away with going and figuring these things out early in business, going to some seminars, going to some Leanscaper events, what can you do to help really, really avoid getting too labor heavy too fast? And so ask the questions. Maybe you don't even know what you don't know. That's what will kill you, right? Ask the questions, please, and someone out there will help you. I guarantee you that. I appreciate you, love you, care about you guys. If you're listening, like I said, and you're not at the Quip, go out and crush it this week. Put some revenue in the bank, and I want to help you any way that I can. If you're at a Quip, I look forward to seeing you here in the next couple of days. Maybe listen to this early morning. We may do the run this morning if you're listening real time. Who knows? If you see me out there, come say hey. But anyway, folks, I love you. I care about you. Appreciate you. If we can ever help you, reach out and let me know. Without any further ado, guys, that's going to wrap this one up. I look forward to catching up with you here on the next one. See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Growing Green podcast. It is an honor to have you listening, and we hope you receive valuable advice to help take your business to the next level. Don't forget to follow the podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.